Welcome to the family here on Purple Mafia. I am your host, Paladino Joey, or Joey Owygen. Purple Mafia is available on all of your favorite podcasting apps, and I do thank each and every one of you once and always for downloading and listening to the show. It is a great pleasure to be back on board with you once again today, as the Minnesota Vikings have, they're done playing overseas for the season after having to be overseas 2 weeks in a row, and we head into the bye week. The Minnesota Vikings survive England. They survive London 21-17 over the vaunted Cleveland Browns.
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
What do you mean? Of course they're vaunted. They beat the Green Bay Packers, and they almost beat us. Well, they didn't beat Detroit, that's for sure. But the Vikings survive in London. That's kind of the bottom line here. I thought Carson Wentz was quite solid in this one. Quarterback rating of 102.1. Did not turn the ball over, and of course had that game-winning drive if you got to see it. That was pretty damn cool. The ball control was frustrating, but it wasn't Carson Wentz's fault. He did not throw any interceptions. He did not fumble the ball. Generally speaking, he was adequate in the game, but of course when you're, on your back half of the time, it felt like he was being rushed, hurried, was sacked 3 times, not 6 or anything, but was sacked 3 times in the game, and good for the Cleveland Browns defense for getting that done for the most part. And of course, Jim Schwartz, one of the better defensive coordinators out there. He's been with the Eagles. He's been with, obviously he was head coach of Detroit years ago. Definitely had a heck of a career as a defensive coordinator and was decent as a head coach with Detroit years ago as well. They were a playoff team, so they were interesting to say the least. Cam Akers didn't run the ball one time for some reason, but he did throw a single pass to a wide open Josh Oliver, who scored a touchdown. That's right, Cam Akers threw a 32-yard touchdown pass, catch and go, of course. He didn't hurl it quite that far. It was maybe about 18 to 20 yards down the field. A wide open Josh Oliver. Nice little cute trick play, something that the Philadelphia Eagles did to the, to the Patriots in the Super Bowl when both teams were throwing for like 3,000 yards in the game, practically. But that one was to Nick Foles of all people. So that was a very interesting play, to say the least. But this one was interesting as well. It was kind of cool. It was a pretty good throw. Not quite as pretty of a spiral as Carson Wentz's game-winning touchdown pass to Jordan Addison, though. That was flat out gorgeous. Jordan Mason definitely had some moments. He got some first downs and such, but it felt like half of the time Jordan Mason or Mr. Scott were able to scamper for a first down or something related to that. At least I got 8-yard gain or something. That maybe it wasn't a first down, but would have had a 2nd and 2 or something like that, right? Holding offense number 60 or whatever, Oh my God. Ugh. Like, it was one thing after another with the offensive line, the frustrations and such. We have our third-string center out there with Juergens out. Now you have the third-string center, so that was interesting. But at times he held his own, at times he didn't. It was that kind of deal. You have rookies, you have second, third stringers, you have injuries. You even saw Darrisaw go out at a point. It's just, gosh, good Lord, I mean, I don't want to go on a huge cursing rant here. That's not what Purple Mafia is all about, is to see how much I can cuss and swear. Like, I'm just so cool because I can say the F-bomb 35 times on a show, or 50 times on a show, or 50 times in a segment. That's not what I'm all about here. And, okay, I'm talking about myself a little too much for anyone's liking. It was annoying, that's all. It just felt like every time the Vikings had something semi-going, it was another holding penalty or whatever, illegal hands or this or that. Or say there was an unsportsmanlike conduct on a play, but then there'd be holding on our side, so the penalty would be offset. There'd always be like a secondary penalty, or at least that happened at least once in the game, pardon me, is what I'm trying to say. All over the place here. Will Reichert also sliced a kick, or pushed it, or whatever you call it, to the right on a 51-yard attempt. Certainly far from automatic, but with him, it felt like automatic. That was his first miss of the season. Did make all of his extra points, thank you very much. And believe me, that last one was crucial because odds are the Cleveland Browns would have found their way into field goal range and possibly sent this into overtime, and God only knows what would have happened there. I do think momentum would have been on the Vikings side, but maybe it wouldn't have been. Who knows? I mean, you just don't mess with overtime against a Cleveland team or any team. especially when it's a team that's probably the underdog. Like, you don't want to be the favorites in a game that just got put into overtime via the underdog. That is bad news, even though momentum was on your side right before that. Okay, now that I've thrown that all over the place, Ryan Wright, I thought, had one of the best games. I mean, we needed him to be on his game, and he was, because the offense was sputtering a bit, thanks to more so the penalties, other than the offense really sucking. Now, yeah, we'll get to something here in a second on the defensive side about sucking. Ryan Wright had to punt 5 times, but averaged almost 60 yards a punt, 57.2. Yeah, that's pretty dang dazzling. A 77-yard long punt, 2 of them in the 20, 0 touchbacks. I mean, Ryan Wright, that's a, Pro Bowl type effort there. But Ryan Wright, I just thought I'd have to mention that. I mean, you really should. Kickoff returns price, he's been wonderful. 25.5 a carry in this one, and his return, pardon me, and his long was 27, which just spells extremely consistent. Like, you're getting 25 yards basically out of this guy, so he's been wonderful. Price also has been doing the punt returns, about 5, and of course there's just not a lot of space in those punt returns, but occasionally, sometimes somebody can break loose. In this one, it's okay, whatever. It is what it is. The Vikings would have 2 sacks, as Cleveland had 3, like I talked about earlier. Dawkins, again, the rookie, another sack for him. He's been pretty good. And Pace Jr. has his good moments, his not so good moments. Did get a sack in the game. Okuda got beat on a play again. But I don't think he's terrible, but he does get beat. I think he's basically what he is, a second stringer. Just like when we talk about Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz is a second stringer. But again, he is the perfect backup quarterback, in generally speaking, because what do you want? What do you need out of a backup quarterback? Your starter's hurt, right? Your starter's hurt, or maybe he's having a terrible game or something. But in this case, he's hurt. What do you need your backup quarterback to do? Win you a game or 2, especially if the guy's out for 2 to 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever, something like that. You're hoping it's not the whole damn season. Then it is what it is. I mean, he's the starter, regardless if he's good or not. Regardless if he's Sean Mannion, Carson Wentz, Steve Young, or whatever. Like Steve Young was once a backup quarterback. A lot of you know that, and some of you might not, that are maybe real young and just getting into the game, or you never followed football and you're 45. But Carson Wentz is a perfect backup in terms of he can win you a game, be it on the road, overseas, or whatever, or at home. He can win you a football game, and that's good. I think he's been a nice backup quarterback. He's not the guy you give a 5-year extension to necessarily, unless you really, really want to keep him, but it wouldn't be for $150 million or anything like that. But I wouldn't mind keeping him in the offseason for a 1 or 2 year contract, at the very least, maybe even 3, at a reasonable price. He's a nice backup quarterback. He can win you a game or 2 or 3 or whatever, depending on the situation. Again, that's in, whatever it is, like situations, short situations, a week or 2 out for the starter. Yeah, like Rashawn Mannion, there's no way you're going to win the game, unless the other guy's even worse than him. But Rashawn Mannion, like I've said probably 16 times on this show already, could barely complete a pass within 8 yards. That's not a backup quarterback. That's a 3rd or 4th string guy. That's a practice squad guy. That was just like the worst feeling. Like Kirk Cousins is out, we're dead. But Kirk Cousins was the Cal Ripken of football for a significant period of time, not missing any games. But eventually, the old Achilles popped, and it was a little different story. It's like, oh, who's this? Oh, that Josh Dobbs. We got to trade for him. Yeah, anyhow, let's get off of Josh Dobbs, please. He wasn't terrible. Well, the first 2 games he played, he wasn't terrible. After that, well, see the game? Justin Jefferson. We saw the game as well. I thought he had a wonderful day. Obviously, did not get in the end zone or anything, but made the big plays that were needed on multiple occasions, particularly in the big drive. 2 big drives, one to open the half and one to end the game, or, well, put the Vikings in the lead near the end of the game, because Cleveland had a few cracks at the end zone before the end of the game. But Justin Jefferson, a few big chunk plays, a 38-yard gain along the way, a couple of great catches. Not quite at the Buffalo level, but a few really good ones where he's going way up, reaching and making the big play while getting hit, basically, while drawing contact. And also breaking a couple tackles on another play to get a first down, a key first down on a 3rd down situation. Justin Jefferson had 6 first downs, so that's a nice that they have that stat added on here now. 7 catches, 11 targets. Obviously, some of them were throwaways or just ball was just a little bit out of reach, including one to Addison along the way. But Carson Wentz's throw to Addison in the end zone that put the Vikings ahead for good. The spiral on that throw was absolutely gorgeous. And again, that's a backup quarterback playing starter like a starter at the moment when you need him to play like a starter. That's kind of what that was. Playing like a starter in that big moment. Like, not the whole game. He didn't play like a starter the whole game. He was in and out. He had some good moments, some not so good moments. And at the same time, you're going against a pretty good defensive line. At least one extremely good defensive lineman named Myles Garrett. Like one of the best ever, basically. Against an offensive line with, let's see, O'Neal was out. Your starting center, Ryan Kelly, who knows if he's ever even going to frickin' play again. We don't know. And even if he does, you know what I mean? It's a walking time bomb. God bless him, And so you had and then you had your second string center out. So that made things even more interesting. But at least, yeah, other than the penalties and such, he held his own sometimes. Kind of. Sort of. Brian O'Neal out, and I already mentioned that one. With the, not the Achilles, but the MCL. It was confirmed that it was an MCL, and he even tried to go. Odds are he could return for Philadelphia up and coming. We'll see if that ends up being the case, but we'll see. Vikings sure could use help at some point along the line. You saw Rose out there, of course. That is a given one way or another. Philadelphia Eagles are actually flashing on the screen right now, recording a little bit earlier than I normally do, which is great because of these early games. I'll take it. I'm not complaining. Yes, it is Philadelphia. It is confirmed that the Vikings are playing Philadelphia next time, and they're actually trailing right now as Denver Broncos had a late score here. 7.5 minutes remaining in the fourth quarter versus the undefeated Philadelphia Eagles, the Broncos, again, on the road in Philadelphia at the moment. Again, that is our next opponent. That will be a home game on noon, so the Nooners return. And then a stupid Thursday game. Great. Even though those are kind of fun. They're kind of fun, yep. And then you get that whole Sunday off and chill and whatever. And then noon, 4 noons in a row. I like that. Yeah, so Sunday, all the way up until a Thursday game versus Detroit at 3 p.m. because it's Christmas Day. Okay, so things kind of sticking on Sundays for the most part, other than Christmas Day after that Chargers game coming up. So that's kind of your upcoming schedule and such. Max Brosmer, second game where he got to come in and for a little bit here. In this case, otherwise last time it was, of course, a blowout game versus Cincinnati. I think he handed the ball off like 15 times. In this case, technically a rushing attempt, but it was a kneel down before the half. So that's what that was, a kneel down before the half. Now, onto the defensive side of the ball. I talked about the Vikings being clutch when they needed to be. Jordan Addison making that big touchdown catch. Hawkinson, a few nice catches, 2 of them for first downs, kind of short yardage stuff. Nothing special, not worth the money, in my opinion. TJ Hawkinson is probably not gonna return at the end of the year. I think unless something changes dramatically and Hawkinson starts showing what a lot of us really like, the reason why he got his big contract here. If he doesn't start to show some of that, he's probably not going to be back. But we'll see. Josh Oliver earning the contract he's getting, which is significantly less than TJ Hawkinson. It's still fairly generous, but he's one of the better blocking tight ends there is. Naylor had a 27-yard, he had a 20-yard play, 27 yards total. Mason and Scott not being able to hold on to the ball drove me absolutely bananas. It was painful to watch, to say the least. Now, on the defensive side of the ball, I keep hinting at this. The positives, Byron Murphy Jr., I thought he had some good games, or good moments. He had a big pass deflection that would have been a Cleveland touchdown. Unfortunately, later, stupid Browns would score anyway. Grenard had a couple of pass deflections, one that could have been an interception, but that's where the frustration comes in. It became a duck because it was deflected by the ball anyway. When I say it became a duck when the ball was deflected by Jonathan Grenard. But, of course, once again, the Vikings do not get the interception. Metellus dropped a sure interception, and he knew it. Obviously, that's his pass deflection. That should have been an interception. It just wasn't meant to be. Doggone it. Dang it anyway, whatever you want to say. It was frustrating no matter how you look at it. The big play never came defensively. It just didn't come. Yes, you got a couple of sacks, but there wasn't the one that just said, okay, the game's over. let's go, victory formation or time's up or whatever the situation is with how much time's remaining where the Vikings could get to victory formation or Cleveland simply would just run out of time. The big stack, the big interception that would have ended the game, or say along the way when the Vikings were trying to catch up, the big play never seemed to come other than Vikings would simply get a stop along the way or have the Cleveland Browns settle for a field goal. The run defense continues to stink. The tackling continues to stink. Looks like you have the guy down and you don't. Now, to be fair, the Cleveland running back is one of the best in the league. Judkins doesn't have the name of a guy that's like a big superstar. You think of Judkins as like some assistant coach or something, like a running backs coach or a quarterbacks coach or something. Doesn't sound like a star player, or maybe even a coordinator or something, but a not so well known one. Well, it was technical football again, and Judkins is good, so credit to him. But at the same time, tackle the son of a biscuit, will you? Make the tackle, please. Please tackle. Please make the tackle, please. Like, Ford, the 10-yard long, Corley, 10-yard long. Just make the tackle. Just please make the tackle. That'd be so nice. Just tackle the guy. And, part of the reason why the tackles aren't happening is because one of our best, run tacklers on the team is always freaking injured. And that guy's name is Blake Cashman. Blake, I have a message to you directly from Maria of Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
What do you hear?
Thanks, Maria. I agree with you. Again, you know what it's like? As like, say you're like, maybe you're one of the people that, like you're at work and you're counting on people to come in, like obviously, or it's just simply your coworker, or you're maybe in a little bit more of a lead role. Like I kind of am now a little bit. Yeah, you could say that. Yes, like kind of a more, and like say, oh, this person's so good. Oh, they're so good. Yeah, but they called in again. Oh, okay. Jack is out again. Okay. But he's so good, though. He gets great numbers. I mean, he's so good, and he works in the factory, whatever. Jack called in again. Oh, Jack has to go home early. His dog ran away. Come on, man. I don't give a damn about your numbers if you're not there. That's where I'm getting extremely frustrated, and that's ultimately why Blake Cashman was so available when he was available a couple of years ago when he was signed. Van Ginkel, I'm starting to feel the same thing. Like, Maria, you got anything to say to Van Ginkel?
What do you hear?
Exactly. Like, seriously, man. Come on. We could use a little help here. Mr. Big Play, Mr. Pick Six, Mr. This, Mr. That. It would help, and obviously other people need to step up. Yes. But at the same time, if you're, being counted on to be there to make the big plays or simply be, the guy that tackles somebody once in a while, it'd be nice. It really would. It would be absolutely spectacular to have Blake Cashman and or Van Ginkel out there. It'd be wonderful. But they're not. And that's why this frustration continues to happen. The tackling continues to suck and drive us absolutely bonkers beyond belief. Don't be surprised also that Murphy might not be as spectacular this year because last year was his contract year, and now this is after he got the contract. Remember how Murphy, when he first got here, he wasn't that good either? And then he kept getting better and better. You know how that works? It drives me nuts. A little consistency would be wonderful, wouldn't it? Treat every year like it's your contract year. God dang it. Curse me kilts. Curse me kilt, as Scrooge McDuck would say. Bloody hell, as a dear friend in Australia would probably say. Happens to be a Cleveland Browns fan, just in case he's listening. Like, bloody hell, mate. That'd be great. Okay, well, I got that out of my system, at least for now. We'll see if I'm getting it out of my system again next time, 2 weeks from now. There will be no Purple Mafia show next week, by the way, on YouTube or anything, unless there's really some big news or something. Like the Vikings traded for, Aaron Rodgers or something. I don't know. I don't think that's going to happen. I'm just making stuff up. Though lately, a lot of things I've been saying have been getting spoken into existence. It keeps happening at work, which is really interesting. But Vikings are going to win the Super Bowl this year. That's right, they are. I'm speaking it into existence. The Vikings are going to win the Super Bowl this year. Everything's going to change dramatically. McCarthy is going to be the next Tom Brady. And everything's going to change a few weeks down the line when McCarthy's back in the fold. It's going to be unbelievable. We're going to go from Bledsoe and Carson Wentz to Tom Brady and J.J. McCarthy. And it won't be a pot of garbage. It'll be a pot of gold. It'll be a Lombardi. Lombardi, my friends. That's right. A game like this, ugly, frustrating, hoping for the best. Please make a big play, something, anything. Okay, you had a big-time drive down the field. Okay, that was the big play. The big play came on the offensive side of the ball because defensively it just was not going to come. And like last week, it did not come. It just simply didn't. The Vikings had all the opportunities to win that football game versus Pittsburgh, and it just didn't happen. Atlanta was a flat-out domination for the most part. It felt like the 2008 game all those years ago where me and my brother, it was a spur-of-the-moment thing. A random customer at the gas station that I was employed with all those years ago, part-time at the time. I was a part-time employee at the time at the gas station because, it is what it is. A random customer dropped off some tickets. Here, take these. It's like, what? What? So my coworker called me up right away. He said, Joey, would you like these tickets? Because, I'm like, yeah, let me ask my brother if he'd like to go. And boom, we went. And then it was the Atlanta Falcons with this rookie named Matt Ryan. Yeah, and I know who Matt Ryan was. I was doing Purple Mafia. It was the first year ever of doing it. And the whole game, me and my brother kept seeing, when we see things happen, we would just turn, how we're sitting side by side in the Metrodome. And we would turn our heads towards each other, and our eyes would be big. Like, what was that? We were just kind of like laughing, but wow, that was weak. Like one weak play after another, offensively or defensively. Like, really? You didn't make that stop? And that was kind of what the Falcons game was like this year. It was very similar, quite honestly, where it's just the whole game, you just felt this isn't going to happen. That's what the Falcons game was like this year. It was almost like even a worse version of that one. Whereas the Pittsburgh game, we were dying, hollering, praying to God for that big play, and it just didn't happen. And in this game, it kind of felt the same until finally that final drive. The final drive. And the big play against this rookie quarterback who I didn't even talk about. I'm sorry, guy. Gabriel. The big play just never happened. It just had to be, ultimately, there was no catch, and the game and the clock ran out. Okay, to Gabriel, real quick before we wrap things up. Dylan Gabriel, your first ever game in the league as a late third-round pick. You know what? You deserve some respect. He wasn't great. He wasn't spectacular, but he was pretty good. He was pretty good at the bottom line. His completion percentage wasn't spectacular. It was in the 50s, 190 yards passing, but 2 touchdowns. He didn't turn the ball over once. He avoided sacks throughout the game. He only got 2, or was sacked twice, and he had a quarterback rating of 94.3. That's not that bad. So, mad respect given to Dylan Gabriel. Good job. Good job. Even though his arm is a human tattoo, I'm not a huge fan of that stuff. But if you are, whatever. That's your choice. I'm not a fan. That's just, okay, I made my point twice there. Sorry to be annoying. Garrett, I thought he had a sack in the game, but I guess it was mostly pressures. 2 sacks by Collins and 1 by Wright on Le Cleveland. Wild game, back and forth a bit. Ugly, but the conversation the whole week on Score North, KFVN, wherever, and even on Purple Mafia before that was just freaking win. Even if it's an ugly, boring, stupid game like this, just win. And the Vikings did. The Vikings are 3-2 going into the bye, despite looking pretty crappy at times. Despite looking terrible against Atlanta, below average versus Pittsburgh, and like a C minus maybe, or D plus in this week. Last week it was like a D minus at best, if not an F. Atlanta was a flat out F minus, but that's kind of what that is. So yeah, they survived. Bottom line, they survived. Kind of like playing Predator on NES. Terrible game, terribly made, very dumb and stuff. And when you beat the game, at least we saw the Angry Video Game Nerd do it on his videos. And the end of the game simply, it says you survived. It's like, yeah, okay. And he said, and the AVGN ended the video with, yeah, barely. And then he slammed the controller down. That's about this game. Barely. Yeah, we survived. The Fran Tarkington Award winner for this episode is going to go to Justin Jefferson. Big plays down the stretch. And I'm even willing to give a for surviving all the rush going up against him in the game, and even had a shoulder injury as well, him being Carson Wentz. One of the reasons why a young man was out there kneeling down at the end of the half, that would be Brosmer. Carson Wentz, it was the non-throwing arm, but again, a shoulder injury. He was getting knocked around. But for him to come out and drive the team down the field at the beginning of the half and the end of the game the way he did, kudos, man. Big kudos to Carson Wentz. I thought he did a wonderful job as a very respectful backup quarterback. Very much so. Justin Jefferson, the big plays, but obviously a certain man had to throw him the ball to make the big plays as well. So if you have a terrible quarterback, Justin Jefferson isn't going to be able to make big plays. If you have a respectable, decent quarterback, he will. So it's a team effort here, and both of those guys will bring home the Fran Tarkington Award winner for this episode. The Christian Ponder Memorial. Boy, it's kind of general run defense. But I'm going to give it to two guys that weren't available because they're always freaking hurt. Blake Cashman and Andrew Van Ginkel. We could use your help. And this is not somebody who's trying to pick on people that are injured. But at the same time, we could use your dang help. Could you please come back? Help? That would be so awesome. Wouldn't it, though? Please come back and help. So it's kind of a gentle one, even though maybe somebody deserves a more harsh one. But we're going to go with that for this show. Because if you're not available, what do you here? So that's where we're going with that. Now we're going to take a quick break and return for the NFL Roundup and previewing the Philadelphia Eagles coming up in 2 weeks. And we are back here on Purple Mafia segment number 2. Time to look around the league a bit and, of course, preview the upcoming matchup with the Philadelphia Eagles after the bye. But, yeah, of course, we're going to preview it. And, yes, there will be no show next week because I said so, damn it. How's the fantasy team doing? Well, oh, boy, yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. That was interesting. Very interesting how things kind of turn of events there. But we'll get to that when we feel like it. Dallas versus the Jets, this team versus that team, kind of wild, crazy, kind of a mess, and I'm hitting all the wrong buttons because it's just so annoying, and I apologize for that. Open things up with the Thursday night game, which was a pretty epic tilt. It was kind of LA, it was a California Bowl, that type of thing. LA versus LA Rams anyway versus San Francisco 49ers. It's become quite a entertaining rivalry. It was the NFC Championship game a few years back when the stupid Rams won the Super Bowl. You can tell I was real thrilled about that. Really happy. In SoFi, of course. And the 49ers get the job done, 26-23. That was a pretty nice story considering the circumstances. Mac Jones was incredible. Very accurate, very solid, did not turn the ball over. Well, he was accurate enough anyway. He attempted 49 passes. The 49ers were hanging in there. 49 for the 49ers. Yeah. 33 completions, 2 touchdowns, did not throw an interception, and also hung on to the ball, only sacked once. So elusive enough as well was Mac Jones. As it's another one of those quarterback schools that we talk about. I think we talked about it last week, and we've been continuing. You got the 3 guys, you got the 3 coaches that are the quarterback whispers in the NFL. Thankfully, one of them does reside here in Minnesota with the Minnesota Vikings and Kevin O'Connell. The other 2 were competing against each other on Thursday night, Sean McVay and, of course, Kyle Shanahan, who I am a big fan of. I'm a big fan of Kyle Shanahan. He did a hell of a job with Sam Darnold, didn't he? And he's doing a hell of a job with Mac Jones as well. Guys that were promising draft picks, promising prospects that didn't really work out all so much with their first team. And now here's Mac Jones with the San Francisco 49ers years later now, as a backup to Brock Purdy, who's been injured off and on, despite getting a huge contract recently. And Mac Jones has been quite a success story after being pretty average at best with the San Francisco 49ers. Christian McCaffrey, it was kind of a 2 yards cloud of dust type of day. Not Tecmo football there. Brian Robinson Jr. as well is now on the 49ers instead of with the Washington Commanders. That's pretty interesting. But yeah, they really struggled against that LA Rams defense, them being the Niners. 2.6 to carry for McCaffrey for only 57 stinking yards. And 2.4 for Robinson, only 5 attempts for him, 22 for McCaffrey. But fight away they did, and Mac Jones was much more successful than the running backs in this one. Mr. Byrne with the 10 catches and 142 yards there. Got all of his albums. Kendrick Bourne, not Byrne, Kendrick Bourne. I have all his albums. He does wear number 84, I guess. He had only 305 yards and a touchdown last year. He's already got 229 this year, but no touchdowns officially. Had to be a career high here. You're digging pretty deep. This is a veteran player who's been with the Niners in the past for 4 years to start out his career, then the Patriots for 4 years, and then back with San Francisco. So, yeah, going all the way back to, going back quite a ways, even before Jimmy Garoppolo got to San Francisco. So, entertaining, to say the least. Career night for Kendrick Bourne, 10 catches, 142 yards. Christian McCaffrey, 8 catches, 82 yards, and a receiving touchdown, so good for him. San Francisco, again, getting the job done, and boy, did you feel darn good. Seeing that 49ers defense get the job done, the Rams making a questionable decision down the stretch, which angered, the Rams in general. They were all very frustrated, heartbroken a bit, electing to run rather than kick a field goal, tie the game up, and go to OT. The 49ers, or the Rams, try to get the first down to try to go for the win. This was in overtime already. They were already in overtime, to tie it back up and then see what happens. So the Rams were like, no, we're gonna win this game right here, right now. There was plenty of time on the clock, but once there was enough time on the clock anyway. But once the Rams turned the ball over on downs, there was nothing more they could do. Keep pronouncing his name wrong. Kyren Williams ended up getting stopped, much to his chagrin, on that 4th and short, their 4th and 1, deep into San Francisco territory. Matthew Stafford, pretty darn epic in the game, like he always tends to be. Did not have an interception, was only sacked once. Again, Joey Bosa's out for the season with an ACL as of a week and a half ago now. 47 attempts for Stafford, 30 completions. There was a lot of aerial football in this one, 3 touchdown passes for Stafford. This is one of the great Thursday night games in quite a while. Puka Nacua, 85 yards and 10 catches and a touchdown. Williams also got in the end zone twice. I keep thinking he's on my fantasy team, but I think that was last season. Yeah, I had Williams last year. This year I have Chase Brown. I'm so lucky to have Chase Brown, though. 27 yards in the air, 21 on the 27 yards in the air, 27 yards on the ground, 21 in the air. Great game. Not. David Montgomery did get in the end zone for the Lions. Yeah, good for him. That was decent, but yeah, he had a pretty good game. I can't complain too much. He even threw a touchdown, the son of a gun. So thanks, David Montgomery. Might end up helping me win the game. Kind of a weird day, but one extreme big positive we'll get to is when we talk about the Houston Texans later on. I've been talking about this single game way too much, but it was arguably the game of the week. Great game and great win for the 49ers, going up to 4-1, despite player after player after player after player after player being injured for the 49ers. Depressing stuff, to say the least. Very depressing stuff, to say the least. I don't know. It's just depressing and it sucks. Sorry to see the Niners go through so many injuries, but I guess that's just kind of how it goes. Patriots and Buffalo Bills wearing some weird silver uniforms, or what the Bills are doing. I don't know if they're going for like some icy look or what the heck, but it's not winter yet. Maybe they'll wear it like later in the season as well. It's kind of a cool look, like a silver Buffalo logo and silver numbers and all that stuff. It's an ice cold whiteout look that the Buffalo Bills are wearing. 3-3 game between the Bills and the Patriots. Interesting stuff, to say the least. Yeah, let's get off of that real quickly. Kansas City heading to Jacksonville tomorrow. You know who I'm rooting for. Go Jaguars. Oh yeah. The Indianapolis Colts hosting the Las Vegas Raiders, and put a can of you know what on those Raiders. The Colts are 4-1, a 40-6 thrashing of the Las Vegas Raiders. Just it's LOSS Raiders. It's LOSS Vegas Raiders right now. Las Vegas. Yeah, Geno Smith with 2 interceptions on 36 attempts. Quarterback rating of 63.2. Genty, who was pretty good last week with 67 yards on the ground. Still pretty good, but the Raiders were playing from behind the whole game. I mean, you can only use him so much. Raheem Mostert, the former Dolphin, added 22 yards on 7 rushes. Kind of math, to say the least. Why am I even looking at the Raiders? Raiders are awful, right? Yeah, Daniel Jones, again, a short study in the Kevin O'Connell School of Quarterback with 20 completions of 29 attempts, 2 touchdowns, did not turn the ball over. Good job, to say the least. Jonathan Taylor, spectacular overall. 66 yards is nothing to really write home about, but 3 touchdowns is something to write home about. Taylor got in the end zone 3 times, and Abdullah, isn't that, yeah, Amir Abdullah getting in the end zone on one of his 2 carries. 2 carries he got in the end zone. So exciting for him, to say the least. We'll move quickly here. Colts crush the Raiders. The Raiders are the Raidees now. They are being raided. Yes, they're not the Raiders, they're the Raidees, and I brought that up last week. New Orleans Saints win their first game of the season over the New York Midgets, the New York Little People. They're not the Giants, they're Little People. You know, there's 2 different extremes. There's the Giants and the Little... Okay, yeah. Well, the Saints were marching in. Isn't that exciting? Well, they marched in, and they won 26-14. Yeah, they sure did. Dart, Mr. Jackson Dart, 40 pass attempts, 40. That's a lot. 2 interceptions. Only got sacked once. 2 touchdown passes. That's decent. But his quarterback rating dropped to 73.1 with those 2 turnovers. That's got to suck for him, and it is what it is. The Giants are just what they are. 2 touchdowns, and of course, Malik Neighbors out for the season with an ACL. Yeah, it sucks. Very depressing. Theo Johnson, the tight end for the Giants, one of those safe kind of guys with 2 touchdowns, both from Jackson Dart, of course. So good for him. But otherwise, the Saints, the victors. That's what we should be talking about some more. Spencer Rattler, and then also Hill threw a pass completion for 19 yards, getting a little cute there. Taysom Hill, yep, remember him. God darn it, sorry. Spencer Rattler, 21 of 31, 225 yards, no turnovers, quarterback rating just under 100. So good for him. Rashid Shaheed is now on the Saints with 4 catches and 114 yards. One of them was a touchdown for 87 frickin' yards. Congratulations to the Saints winning the first game of the year in the Caesars Superdome. Ooh, hoo, 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 hoo. Dallas Cowboys head to New York for the Jets, not the Giants. Both of the New York teams suck. This is the only time, this is the only sport where you can say, gosh, both New York teams just suck. Seems like all the time, well, in basketball, they don't win championships over there, but oftentimes one of them is decent. Like, the Brooklyn Nets are a big threat right now. They have Kevin Durant or whoever, Jason Kidd back in the day, so on and so forth. Or like the New York Knicks, Patrick Ewing, and then years later now, now they have all these other guys who've been really good, Brunson and such. But, in hockey, you have the Islanders and the Rangers especially. The Islanders are sometimes good. The Rangers are often contending because they have all the money. And the frickin' New York Yankees and the frickin' New York Mets, always kind of big buck spender type teams. Well, the Giants and the Jets suck, so at least we can enjoy some New York suckage. But I don't really dislike New York fans as much as I dislike Chiefs fans. I really don't, and Packer fans too. But I do get along with some Packer fans, believe it or not, yes. Some from work, some from church, or just old school friends as well. One of them is work and church. So David Mattson, just in case, 1 in a million chance he's listening because he is a Packer fan. But go Brewers, David, just in case he's listening. Go Brewers. God bless the Chicago Cubs. They got their World Series. I don't give a crap about the Cubs anymore. How about them Brewers? Yeah, I said that on a Purple Mafia show. There's nothing wrong with the Brewers winning. I don't hate the Milwaukee Brewers. Packers, yes. Badgers, bleep yes. Bleep yes. The Bucks, it was okay when they won the NBA title. It wasn't the end of the world. Yeah, they don't have hockey. They have the Milwaukee Admirals, who are a AAA affiliate for the Nashville Predators. I mean, I don't know. I don't hate the Milwaukee Admirals too much. I just think the logo is weird. I mean, Admirals, and it's like a skeleton, like a pirate. It doesn't make any sense. How many Admirals are skeletons? I just don't know. Some names don't go with the logo real well. Like Houston Texans, why is it like a bullhead? I just, that's great. Anyhow, the Dallas Cowboys, well, it's a star. What are they supposed to be, the sheriff or something? They're the Cowboys, not the, I don't get it. Other than I guess it's the Lone Star State. Yay. At least the Jets look like there's a jet there. Kind of. And they have the coolest helmet in the league, and I will continue to say that, and continue to say it, and continue, because they have the coolest helmet in the league until someone else proves me wrong. Dak Prescott, 4 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. One of those great Dak Prescott games when you're like, oh, we gotta invest money in this guy. Oh, is he? We gotta keep him. Oh my God, look what he can do. $60 million a year. Ooh, we gotta keep him. We gotta keep him. We gotta keep him. And then he'll let you down after that. But well, against the New York Jets, kind of like Kirk Cousins against a sucky Detroit team years ago, would have his nice, sexy 350 yards and 4 touchdowns with no interceptions. Remember those? They happened all the time, especially against Matt Patricia. Old Matt Patricia, the greatest defensive coordinator, and no, he sucked at everything he did. Offense and defense. He was just lousy. And he had an attitude, too. Not a good combination. Not a good combination. Have an attitude and you're not even good? Sounds like some people we've known, all of us. We've known a few people like that over the years. Just we have, and we don't want to name their names because we just don't. Williams on the ground for the Dallas Cowboys, 135 yards on only 16 attempts. Tecmo Bowl football, but then again, there was a 66 long to bloat that up along the way. A touchdown for Mr. Williams there in Dallas, Texas. The Javonte Williams. Apologize, Javonte, for being slow on that one. But an overall great game for the Cowboys. CeeDee Lamb isn't even playing, and yet the Cowboys managed to get 4 touchdown passes. Ferguson, Pickens, remember him. And Williams also received a touchdown, so great for him. Yay, the Cowboys won. Woo, hoo, 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 hoo. They are 2-2-1 because they tied with the Green Bay Slackers. Recently, the Jets 0-5, trying to get the #1 pick again. Wow. Anyhow, next week's opponent, we're going to skip that for now. Denver and Philadelphia. Remember back in 90, this is what kind of weird memory I have. I distinctly remember back in 98, that's right, 98, when the Philadelphia Eagles were one of the bottom feeders of the league. Just bottom of the league. That's how they wound up with Donovan McNabb as a quarterback, because they had like the #2 pick in the draft. Awful. Absolutely awful. And the Denver Broncos were the best team in the league, except for maybe the Vikings and Falcons. And they just thrashed that Philadelphia team into the ground. I mean, thrashed them. What was it, like 44-3 or something? It was just sick. It was unbelievable. And it was one of those, it was one of those afternoon games that was on CBS most likely because it's an AFC matchup. Well, we'll stop talking about that game for now. But there was a rematch of that game. Yeah, the Broncos in Philadelphia. We'll come back to that later. Carolina hosting the Miami Dolphins, who dropped the Dolphins to 1-4 in the season. McDaniel is probably in trouble, and I feel bad for him. I really do, because I think McDaniel's a better coach than the result he's getting. Let's put it that way. I feel bad for him. I like McDaniel. I think he's a good coach. Yeah, it just sucks. Just like kind of like Kevin Stefanski in Cleveland. It's like, he's better than that. Come on. The team should be representing him a little better, but they're just not. Anyhow, Tua threw 3 touchdown passes for the Dolphins, quarterback rating of 122, and they still lost the frickin' Carolina Panthers. I don't understand. Well, at least it was in a warm climate. That's why Tua played well. And it's also like kind of warm out everywhere right now. It was a warm day until like right now. Jalen Waddell for Miami, 6 catches, a touchdown, 110 yards. Great game for him. Waller, 5 catches, 78 yards, and a touchdown for him. Arcane for the Dolphins, the running back, 6 catches and a touchdown. Good game for him. He only rushed for 16 yards on the ground because Carolina's interior defense was awesome, and that did not help the Panthers' cause, or the Miami Dolphins' cause. I don't know what happened to them. They didn't even turn the ball over. The Panthers did. I don't know. Bryce Young, 30 attempts, 19 completions, 198, 2 touchdowns, and an INT. But a solid game for Bryce Young, as he's just still kind of getting his head out of somewhere, I guess. But dawdle, did not dawdle at all. He's one of those magical games. If you're a running back in the NFL and you get this magical number, you are feeling incredible. 206 yards. Once you get to that magical number of 200 plus, it's magic. Oh ho, it's magic. You know, yes, it is. Kind of like bowlers, unless you are a legitimate, like professional level bowler, you get to that magic number, which I am proudly able to say I did 3 times successfully, of 200 plus when I was younger. It is an insane feeling. Insane. And I can imagine what that felt like for Dawdle today. 23 carries, a 53-yard long, and he averaged 9 yards a carry. That's why the Dolphins lost. They couldn't stop Dawdle for their life. They just couldn't. 9 yards a carry. 206 frickin' yards. Only 1 touchdown, which is kind of annoying. That probably annoys some people. Though, nope, he did not get a touchdown. Not one. Isn't that... Oh, yeah, he had 1 rushing touchdown. Sick. Absolutely sick. And if he's on your fantasy team, congratulations. Congratulations. As Chief Justice might tell a president when they finish their oath. Congratulations. Yeah, anyhow. Congratulations to the Houston Texans winning their 2nd game in a row after starting the season out 0-3. They're now 2-3. CJ Stroud got his head out of somewhere, and boy, did he ever. And last week he kind of did, and made him somewhat more attractive as a free agent in fantasy football. How the heck is CJ Stroud a free agent in fantasy football? I guess he was semi-mediocre last year, and that's part of the reason. The Ravens can't seem to stop anybody. It's kind of like the, what was his name? Vinny Testaverde days in the mid-90s with the Baltimore Ravens. Not that it's Vinny Testaverde's fault, but back then the Ravens couldn't stop grandma whatever. They couldn't stop their grandmother in the mid-90s. It was pathetic. They'd give up 1 million points, but they'd score 1 million points. That's kind of what the Ravens were like back then. So Testaverde was actually pretty good, and it was a nice offense with guys like Michael Jackson and stuff. They had just left Cleveland. No defense, all offense. And then next thing you know, not that long after that, by 99, 2000-ish, the Ravens defense became absolutely insane, and Trent Dover was the quarterback. Wrap your head around that. Anyhow, there I go now in memory lane again. But this kind of brought that back because the Ravens can't stop anybody, and they have one of the best exciting quarterbacks in the league who scores a lot of points. But today, he was out. And a guy who crushed the Vikings a few years ago on Halloween night, Kareem Rush, or is it Kareem Rush? Cooper Rush. He ain't no Kareem. Cooper Rush. He's not Kareem. Sorry. Dallas Cowboy Cooper Rush is now a Baltimore Raven. You think he's a pretty good backup quarterback? I wish we could have him. Well, the Vikings are fine with Carson Wentz. What the hell happened here? He attempted 20 passes, completed 14 of them. That's not that bad. I mean, you think he's going to... No, he threw 3 interceptions. What happened here? What happened? Yikes. And Henry, 2 yards in a cloud of dust. 2 yards of rush, 33 carries on 15 attempts. But he did get in the end zone once, somehow, some way, in the 3rd quarter. Houston Texans put the can of whoop-ass on the Baltimore Ravens 44-10. CJ Stroud, 23 of 27, 4 touchdowns, quarterback rating 143. Even Dylan Mills got in there for a couple attempts because it was a blowout. Chubby Chubb, with 11 rush attempts. And, he got in the end zone once as well. CJ Stroud. Okay, so here's the story, very briefly. I don't want to make this about my fantasy team because that'll bore the crap out of you. But with Lamar Jackson as a starter being hurt, and I had just recently been insanely lucky to get somehow Jordan Love. Somebody cut him, and nobody was paying attention, and I was able to claim him off waivers because people just weren't paying attention, and maybe I had a high enough waiver. It couldn't have been too high because I had claimed somebody else on waivers recently. I believe his name is Stephon Diggs. That's kind of cool. Stephon Diggs obviously isn't a top receiver in the league anymore, but still pretty good. Obviously, when you're out for the year with an ACL, your stock probably isn't too high. CJ Stroud was also released recently. Or I don't know what the heck happened, or somehow he was a free agent. I don't understand, even though he had kind of a sophomore slump last year. But yeah, I had acquired Jordan Love, so it's like, okay, at least he can go in for Lamar Jackson. He's on the bye week. Oh, come on. What am I doing here? But it's okay. I still wanted Jordan Love. So it was okay to get him. But then it's like I still got to scurry for a free agent. It's like, oh, crap. This guy's not playing either. Or this one's on waivers. And he's got, and he already played this week. A guy named Matthew Stafford already played this week. C.J. Stroud's still. Okay, let's get him. And I didn't even have to. He didn't even have to clear waivers. Boom, C.J. Stroud. All right, well, he's the starter. I mean, who else is going to play? And then this happens, and it's like, because I also noticed, yeah, they are playing Baltimore this weekend, and it's like, all right, let's see what happens. And then I pull up the device, for Yahoo Sports, Yahoo Sports app on the device. It's like 44-3, and I'm like, all right, yeah, I think it worked out pretty well this week, and it did. Couldn't have been more wonderful. C.J. Stroud coming out party for this year. He had a mediocre season last year, and he was off to a very mediocre start. But boy, was I happy to see his name floating around there as a free agent. And wow, he's probably going to be on the team the rest of the year. And I don't know. Sometimes I carry 3 quarterbacks in fantasy, because why the hell not? But especially if it's Lamar Jackson, Jordan Love, and C.J. Stroud. I mean, if you had all 3 of those guys, you'd be pretty happy, wouldn't you? So we'll see what happens. So enough of fantasy. Sorry, I don't want to babble about that every week and annoy you, because I know when, say, your coworker babbles on about their fantasy team, you'd rather cut your toenails or something. You're like, oh yeah, I'm cutting my fingernail. Yeah. Oh, are you listening to me? Yeah, I'm listening. Snip, snip, snip. Yeah, I know exactly what you're feeling with that. Arizona Cardinals hosted the Tennessee Titans and lost. Titans get their first win of the season. Titans got their first win of the season. Cardinals wearing those black and red uniforms rather than red and whatever, and they lost. Because Kyler Murray's what he is. He's not a franchise quarterback. Sorry, he's not. Kyler Murray, 31 attempts, 23 completions, 220 yards. Anything else? No. Okay, he ran one in. Yeah, he did run one in. Good for him. But you're a quarterback. I mean, it's okay to throw a touchdown pass sometimes. At least he didn't have a turnover. That's the one good part. Because old grape jelly, I mean, it was like, you could say old grape jelly Kyler Murray, grape jelly Murray, basically, with one interception after another every single stinking week. But at least he didn't do that. But somehow, some way, they lost to the stupid Titans. Cam Ward, well, a number 1 pick in the draft. He wasn't that good. He attempted 39 passes, completed only 21 of them. His quarterback rating is 64.6. That's kind of down in the catacombs right there. I wouldn't call it the doldrums. I'd call it the catacombs. Interception, no pass touchdowns. Pollard got in the end zone. Ugly, crappy, stupid game. The Cardinals were meh. Titans were meh. And the Titans were 1 point better. Let's keep going. How long do you want to talk about that? Not much. A battle of the expansion clubs in the 1970s here. And they had their 1970s into the 80s look. And into the early 90s, too. They kept these looks for quite a while, actually, didn't they? It looked awesome. Dear Tampa Bay and Seattle, strongly consider making these your permanent. Just go back to these. Just go back to this look. I don't like the Seahawks look. The last 20 years when they changed. I would love to see Seattle go back to this old look, even though they sucked about 99% of the time they wore these. I don't care. They look great. Same with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Yeah, they sucked during that time, but they're cool uniforms, man. Is there, how many people out there, raise your hand if you think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers orange uniforms with that classic Buccaneer look versus like a pirate flag, cute and everything. You're like the wannabe Raiders is basically like at that point when you're doing that. Crazy to think that those 2 teams were in the Super Bowl. Those Pirates versus Pirates, Buccaneer versus Raiders. It's cool. But anyhow, if you think the Buccaneers shouldn't go back to this look and you prefer the current one, anybody out there, put your hand down. I know you're making it up. You're just trying to be a troll. Seattle, dude, put your hand down. I know you're doing it. It's the same guy. Come on, man. Yeah, go back to these looks. Just seriously, this is awesome. And it was a great football game as well. 2 quarterbacks on there. Baker Mayfield, how many teams has he been on? Is this his 3rd? Darnold's 4th. And they're having nice success. Mayfield was pretty good. 134.7 quarterback rating. 2 touchdowns, almost 400 yards. He only had 4 pass incompletions out of 33. That's insane. Darnold, kind of similar. He had 6 pass incompletions. He did have an interception, unfortunately, a la Warren Moon at times with Seattle very late in his career. 341 yards in the air. Man, what a great football game. 135.4 quarterback rating. Walker also added 86 yards with 8.6 average. Just sick stuff. But the Buccaneers found a way to win the football game. Turnover by Darnold did not help. That's for darn sure. That's for Darnold sure. Smith Njigba of Seattle, not Tampa, with 132 yards in the air and a touchdown. 2 touchdowns for Barner of the Seahawks. But yeah, these two teams were expansion teams in the I think it was 76, I do believe. And they had these cool looking uniforms, and they kept them for a very, 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 very long time, up until when I started watching football in the very early 90s, like 90, 91, 92, when I became a full-time football fan versus just kind of part-time fair weather fan when the Vikings lost the 1987 NFC Championship game to the Washington Redskins in a heartbreaking fashion. It was 1988, but it was the 87 season. Yeah, I know. Bring these looks back permanently. That was really cool. It was a great game, great uniforms. Everything about it was cool. Just bring it back. There's no reason not to, other than, of course, these franchises sucked really bad back then when they wore these. But I don't care. Who cares? The modern Seahawks uniforms are boring. The modern Buccaneers uniforms, okay. I mean, I like the old look, man. I really do. Like, that's the Mike Tice days, baby, when he was on Seattle. And they also had didn't they have a really good receiver named Kurt Warner as well? Kurt Warner, yeah. Spelled exactly the same. Isn't that weird? Kurt Warner, yes. It's funny. It's funny. Washington headed to Los Angeles Charger land, and the Commanders were in command. Congratulations, 27-10. That's a nice win. So, yeah, both teams are 3-2. The Chargers were 3-0 at one point. Now they're 3-2. Commanders kind of recovering after a 1-2 start, winning a couple games in a row here. Daniels back in command of the Commanders. 15 of 26, not that great, but didn't turn the ball over. He did throw a touchdown. Krosky Merritt also got in the end zone twice for the Washington Commanders with 111 yards on the ground. Good for him. Justin Herbert with his old grape jelly stain, and Trey Lance even got in the game. What the heck? As things kind of went south. He was also sacked. Did not throw an interception, but 44 yards on 4 attempts. Good for him, I guess. Herbert kind of back to mediocre Justin Herbert again. 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 166 yards. That's simply not going to get it done. It's just not. And that's why a lot of people think he's not really a franchise quarterback. And you see something like that? I don't think he is either. I just don't. I just don't. The Bears and the Packers off. Detroit and Cincinnati. Cincinnati hosting the Detroit Lions and got kind of pounded, unfortunately. Detroit lost their season opener to the Green Bay Packers, who then later on, not too long after that, lost to the Cleveland Browns. Yeah, that was weird. And yeah, they lost to the Browns, but I guess we almost did too, so I have nothing. I can't troll the Packers too much for that one. I just can't. The Cleveland Browns pretty much had the Vikings today. They pretty much did. But the Lions really getting into stride here. Ever since losing that first game of the season, they've been just about unbeatable. Cincinnati had a couple of highlight plays with their great receivers, but the problem is they've invested too much in these bleeping receivers. Good for them. I mean, good for them. Chase and I don't even know what I'm talking about. Jamar Chase, yes, that's who I thought. Duh. Jamar Chase, obviously he's a stud. 8 catches, 100 yards, and a touchdown. Gosh, what am I looking at? I'm going back and forth here. And then Higgins also with 3 catches and a touchdown. 2 touchdowns for Jamar Chase. Great couple of big plays there with Browning and such, but Browning also threw 3 interceptions, and the Bengals were getting beat up pretty bad early, so that's just kind of how that went. 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions for Jake Browning. He's pretty average at best, and the Lions put the can of something on Cincinnati, who dropped to 2-3 on the season. After starting the season out 2-0, they've been 0-3 ever since. And man, I like Joe Burrow a lot, but man, if only he could stay healthy. Goff with one of those ridiculously efficient games that he likes to throw together. Just about a perfect quarterback rating. 23 attempts, 19 completions, no interceptions, 3 touchdowns. David Montgomery on one of those cute little trick plays a la Cam Akers, but a much shorter one. Threw a touchdown pass as well for 3 yards. So David Montgomery got in the end zone once and threw a touchdown. He threw a touchdown. Pretty cool for fantasy purposes going forward. The Lions look pretty good, and well, they're the first place team in our division, if we like it or not. Vikings are 3-2. At least we're in the mix. But if we're going to beat the Detroit Lions, we're going to have to do it head to head. You know, I mean, Detroit Lions going to win a lot of games again this year, it looks like, and they are the team to beat in the NFC North at the moment. Patriots and Buffalo Bills still stuck at 3-3 as we head into the half. What is going on here, man? Lots of penalties for the Buffalo Bills. They've been awful in that category. 7 penalties for 54 yards. Patriots with Stephon Diggs in tow. Threatening to score here before the end of the half. It's not officially the end of the half yet. The Patriots most likely, despite some, or unless there's like some kind of catastrophic mistake, are going to go into halftime with the lead. Well, looks like yep. Stephon Diggs may have thrown a pass interference penalty. Why do the Buffalo Bills want to look like the Detroit Lions, by the way? They look like the Lions right now with all that silver. Silver and blue. When you think of silver and blue, who do you think of? The Detroit Lions, right? You think of the Bills as like blue and red. I don't know. They look like the Lions. Like if I saw this and you don't see the scoreboard or anything, it's like they're playing it looks like the Patriots are playing against the Detroit Lions. I don't know. It's kind of weird. First and goal for the Patriots with 4 seconds left. They have basically maybe one play. You'd think they just kick it, but well, if they can, yeah, they're probably doing the right thing. Let's see what happens right here, and I'm just doing it right here during the podcast because I'm goofy. Come on, just hike the ball, okay? And he's going to throw it. It is dropped, but there's 1 second remaining, so enough time for the field goal. So at least for the Patriots' sake, they left enough time on the clock to kick a field goal. So the ball was batted away with like a millisecond left. Anyhow, so the Patriots, barring a fumbled snap here, or just a terribly shanked kick, will go into the half with the lead versus Buffalo. I don't think a whole lot of people picked that. Drake May, very frustrated, just like that. If the pass was batted away, it looked like a sure touchdown. 19-yard field goal. That's about as short as it gets. Just kick the ball, you son of a guns. Don't call timeout. Don't call timeout. Don't call timeout. Oh, there is no timeout. Okay. Patriots lead 6-3. The Boston Red Sox lead the... Okay, never mind. There is no Buffalo baseball team. The Boston Bruins lead the Buffalo Sabres 6-3. That'd actually be a very high-scoring hockey game, though. Sorry. I'm not that funny, am I? Let's go to Philadelphia. Vikings will be hosting Philadelphia, thankfully, which makes it slightly more winnable. Vikings never win in Philadelphia, except that Kirk Cousins game several years ago now. The Denver Broncos defeat the Philadelphia Eagles, giving them their first loss of the season, and the Buffalo Bills trying to lose their first game as well. They're trying very hard to lose their first game this year with the multiple penalties and scoring 3 lousy points against Mike Vrabel's defense. Patriots started to bring that defensive identity back, despite having pretty good talent on offense. Honestly, it's definitely there. But great shootout between Darnold and Baker Mayfield as well. So gotta love what they're doing there. This is taking way too long. I apologize. Philadelphia Eagles will be the Vikings' opponent going forward. Bo Nix did throw for a single touchdown, 242 yards. Philadelphia is beatable, certainly. I mean, a lot of players left. A lot of good players left in the offseason. They're beatable, but they've been winning football games. They just know how to win, and they've been on an immortal tear going into the postseason last year, pretty much. They've been immortal since sometime in December, I believe, last year when they lost their 3rd game of the season. They ended up finishing 14-3 and never lost again. Became the world champions for the 2nd time, and started off the season 4-0. So lots of respect for the Philadelphia Eagles coming into U.S. Bank Stadium. Jalen Hurts definitely threw the ball way the heck more than he did in previous weeks. It seemed like he just wasn't that much of a factor. Well, he was. He always has been, and he's been more of like just running the ball rather than throwing it. And that's kind of been a back and forth thing with Jalen Hurts the last couple of years. Despite if you thought the Eagles had a toxic locker room or a toxic relationship with their coach or whatever the heck, or just like overall they weren't getting along and it was toxic. And it kind of felt that way after they lost that Super Bowl. Like things just like they were starting to doubt each other and such. And things were really coming to a head with a crappy 1-2 start last season. And then they just erupted after that and didn't lose a game until like December. And then never lost until today, October 5th, 2025. Absolutely sick. So, and I mean that in a good way. Saquon Barkley only 6 rushing attempts in the whole game. So I'm not sure what to think of that. The Eagles kind of lost their identity in this one. Much more pass happy, and it was good. Jalen Hurts was good. His quarterback rating was 100.8. That's not that great. He didn't have a turnover or anything, 2 touchdowns. You think the quarterback rating would be higher, but his overall accuracy, not all that great. The Denver defense kind of showed up to play. And Bo Nix was just a little bit better, generally speaking. And the Eagles lost their identity. Like, Jalen Hurts ran the ball twice for 3 yards. Twice for 3 yards. Can you hear that? Saquon Barkley was one of the MVPs of football last year. 6 rushing attempts for 30 lousy yards, even though he had 5 yards to carry. What the hell? What the heck? Seriously. Barkley did have a receiving touchdown, including 58 total yards. So, good for him. He did have a scamper to pay dirt. So, basically, the only first down he got was a touchdown. So, great for Saquon Barkley finding a way to get in the end zone and get his total yardage just under 100, 98. Just those 2 yards. It didn't happen. That's kind of funny when you think about that. But the Eagles kind of lost their identity in today's game. We'll see if they can reestablish that identity coming into US Bank Stadium because, and I expect them to do that because the Vikings' run defense sucks. Yeah, guys, Blake Cashman, anyone? Blake Cashman? Van Ginkel, but Cashman especially when it comes to run defense. Van Ginkel can be more of a coverage kind of guy at times. Or pass rush, because he can definitely do that as well. Yeah, if you guys would like to come back 2 weeks from now, yeah. I'm just kind of making a noise on purpose. Yeah, that would be great. Yeah. If you guys could come back. Otherwise, the Vikings, they're not going to beat the Eagles. Because I think the Eagles will establish the run against the Minnesota Vikings, and it's not going to be a pretty day. I can imagine Barkley and Hurts putting the hurt on the Vikings in US Bank Stadium. If the defense isn't up to par going forward, if the team isn't healthy or coming in, I'm looking forward to J.J. McCarthy returning as much as I appreciated what Carson Wentz did. And I do. There were some callers. There was at least one caller in particular that called into the Score North, Purple Daily, is it called Vent Line? Vent Line? The post-game thing. It was a 2-hour episode. Holy Toledo. Geez, it wasn't that good of a game. And then some of the fans calling in semi-drunk from England. I'll pass. I would say if you're kind of on the drunk side, don't call into the show. I'm not interested. It's kind of dumb. I think it brings the quality of the show down. That's just my opinion. Like you'll notice Gerald String, who called into the show, he's not drunk. Okay? You know what I mean? He's not drunk, and I don't think he would do that. It's just calling in drunk to a show. That's tacky. But anyhow, there I go judging. But yeah, I am going to judge that a little bit. That's bad radio. But what am I getting to here? I'm excited to. Oh yeah, my whole point was one of the callers, one of the people that joined the show basically was trashing Carson Wentz. They never want to see him play again. Like he's absolute garbage. He doesn't know anything. Okay, dude, there were 3 offensive linemen out. 3 starting offensive linemen out. 3. I'd like to see you go out there and do it. I mean, you saw the same player that everyone calls the GOAT. Not everyone, because I certainly don't. But a lot of people are calling the GOAT out there. Get his butt handed to him 2 times in the Super Bowl because the offensive line wasn't healthy going into the game, and particularly the left tackle. Just the left tackle alone was enough to make Patrick Mahomes look like garbage, pretty much. Get his ass handed to him. by the Buccaneers after the 2000 season, or 2020 season, excuse me. And just recently, the Eagles putting the can of you-know-what all over Mr. Mahomes. Yeah. So, I mean, of course a quarterback's going to look flustered, maybe making some, meh passes and missing on targets because they're rushing. They're being rushed. I'm not looking to sign Carson Wentz to a Kirill Kaprizov contract here, okay? I'm not looking to sign Carson Wentz to an 8-year deal, taking up 20% of the salary cap. That's not my thought process here. But he got the job done. That's kind of how I look at it. But with all that said, I'm looking forward to J.J. McCarthy returning as the starting quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings. Carson Wentz did his job for the most part. He wasn't good against Pittsburgh, but he still did his job, generally speaking. I think he did his job as the number 2 quarterback for a franchise. Not bad, I mean, the Eagles probably wouldn't have minded having him out there if things were different, but they just weren't. Once he was already there and got kind of let go, it is what it is. With all that said, though, yes, I am looking forward to J.J. McCarthy returning. With the way the Vikings' run defense has been and the offensive line has been, I expect some players to return, including McCarthy, of course. I would love to see Cashman and Van Ginkel back. I'd love to see, Ryan. No, I don't think that's going to happen. That's the one I'm really not optimistic about at all. Mr. O'Neal, like to see him back. Like to see Deshaun Jackson back out there as well to get going again. I mean, his career just started and he already got, he had like a wrist injury. So if we can at least get that right side kind of fixed up, that would help. And Mr. Darisaw being back ready to roll, we'll have to wait and see. Brandel did a decent job as the center in this week. So that might be a solution for now with Ryan Kelly, being concussed, twice already. It's just frightening to think about what's been happening with him. He has a concussion, he comes back and has another one, and he's had a concussion history and da. So with the combination, it's the combination of the Vikings offensive line not being good and the Vikings overall run defense not being good. I can't pick the Vikings to beat the Philadelphia Eagles. With that said, who's to say they won't? Because they absolutely can show up to play and get the job done. McCarthy might end up being somebody that comes back hungry and ready to really prove himself as a starting quarterback in this league, a legitimate one. Healthier offensive line, healthier linebackers coming in for some run defense. We'll see. The Vikings do have a chance to win the football game, but it's just right now indicators tell me they won't. And of course, Philadelphia losing this game is going to have them probably locked in more than ever. Now, of course, this is 2 weeks from now. Who knows what's going to happen to Philadelphia next week? Not sure if Philadelphia, who do they play next week? That's another thing to really be concerned with here. My apologies here. I'm kind of zoned out. I don't think they're on the bye at the same time. They'll be playing the New York Giants. Yawn. And they'll have a 10-day break as well. So they'll be fairly rested, the Philadelphia Eagles. They'll be playing the Giants. Now, of course, it's a division rival, so funny stuff happens in games like that. But Philadelphia's probably going to come in 5-1. So they'll probably be pretty focused. And knowing the Vikings are, they're not, I don't think the Vikings are really any worse than the Broncos, generally speaking. Broncos defense was pretty bleeping good, generally speaking, today. But we'll see. They're just different teams. Vikings and Broncos are just different, whether which team is better than the other. But just kind of judging on indicators and such and how the Vikings have been playing and how certain guys are just always bleeping hurt. Certain guys named Ryan Kelly are always bleeping hurt. Blake Cashman is unreliable. I'm annoyed with him. Sorry. Stay healthy, you son of a biscuit. That type of thing. I have to pick the Eagles right now. I have to. Final score, 27-24. Eagles win in a heartbreaking, frustrating game. Vikings have a chance to win. Vikings make a valiant comeback, but run out of time. I think that's kind of what I'm looking at here when it comes to Eagles versus Minnesota Vikings. 24-10 Eagles beat the Vikings. I think the run defense is frustrating again, and I do think that the pass protection won't be good enough for the Vikings to defeat the Eagles. 27-24, Philadelphia wins in U.S. Bank Stadium. We'll be back after this, and we'll hear from Gerald String first to open up in fan interaction.
Enjoy Gerald out of South Dakota. Just my first call-in for the year. Thought I was past due, but no, nothing too big. Finally got to watch a game today, so that was cool. Wasn't pretty, wasn't ugly. It was they got a tough defense, and our line's beat up, and we kind of got the job done. So we're undefeated in London, and we got a couple weeks off, and maybe we'll get to see JJ again. And yeah, nice victory. I always like to call this the first quarter of the season ending, because to me, with the 17-game season, I kind of count that first game as kind of half-assed preseason, and then you got your first 4 games. So yeah, 3-2. Detroit's still the top team in our division anyway, but who knows? Maybe we'll get healed up here in the next couple weeks, and we can play ball when we need to. So, Skol, Purple Mafia Nation. Talk to y'all later.
And I thank you for that call in, Gerald. Really appreciate you. Great to hear from you, Gerald, coming in out of South Dakota, right? Yep, it's South Dakota now instead of Nebraska. Originally from South Dakota, was in Nebraska for a really long time, and now back in South Dakota. So, and Gerald, like an amazing guy, of course, called into Freedom of Thought many times, and is more than welcome to do that again. I'm sure he's got lots of opinions for that show, and I'd like to get that one rolling again. I've been kind of, like Mysterious Adventures has been on a bit of a hiatus, unintended, with that one. So I feel bad about that. Got to get that one going again. Mysterious Adventures. Yeah, fun podcast. Getting into some crypto, all kind of stuff. So anyhow, back to Gerald's call here. Yep, so finally got to see a full game. Happy for you there, and can understand how maybe in the past, maybe you wouldn't want to call in if you didn't get to see too much of the game or anything, but you're still welcome to call and have comments about things, just general conversation, if it's something like that. But yeah, I mean, JJ looked very promising for sure. Team getting healed up. Yep, that's a huge theme going into the bye here, that the team can heal up, because like too many injuries. It's like, the 49ers are all banged up to hell. Like we're probably the second most banged up team when you have that conversation. So yes, some time heals everything, as they say, literally, figuratively, and all of that. Crazy sliding catch by Stefon Diggs. Almost thought he hurt himself, but no, it was just a slide. Luckily, nothing got caught as he was sliding. That would be sucky. You don't want to see Stefon Diggs get injured again, as injuries are just depressing, to say the least. But great call in, Gerald. Thank you so much. Let's get to Twitter for now, or let's see if there's even anything on Facebook as well. Facebook, well, you just look up Purple Mafia Show on there. I'm going to go there first, because Twitter, we know there's stuff there for sure. I put out the video. Not sure how well that's doing. Probably not so much. Yep, there's some comments on the Cleveland conversation. So look up Purple Mafia Show on Facebook. So Dave Hickey out of Iowa says, just woke up and the Vikings are already down 7-0. Yep, I was saying until Cam Akers throws a touchdown pass, pretty wild. But yeah, definitely a scary start. Blake Ferkman, hopefully you're listening. Blake Ferkman. He says, I didn't set a sleep alarm. I missed like 2 plays. Oh yeah, that's not too bad. That was a nice play call on the running back throw pass. Yeah, it was fun. So good to hear from you, Blake. Hope you're a listener to the show. And I'd love to hear from you if humanly possible. So, Facebook definitely pretty quiet. Oh, Mike Dale, I missed you. If you're out there, maybe he couldn't see the game. Who knows? People's schedules are what they are, and it was a weird, weird schedule the past couple of weeks. I'm sure that probably isn't helping the interaction, but Dave Martin, Mad Martin, that's kind of in his backyard there, so that definitely helps a lot. Mad Martin, way up there, Hall of Famer, Purple Mafia, all of that good stuff. Says perfect title for the podcast because I called it the Pota Garbage, and I said, love you, brother. Yep. I was kind of really late on the reply. Yep. Vince Germano out of Australia retweeted the most recent episode. Thank you, Vince. I really appreciate that. And yes. So if you see the show out there, retweet it if you could. Retweet, repost, whatever they call it. Vince certainly did that. Mad Martin saying, surprised we've seen so many points in that quarter. Run D and the run D is shite. Basically is how he's saying it's shite, like a green, like, they say over there. They're making fun of how awful the run D is. Yeah, and it really was. I was saying Cashman is worthless. If he's not healthy ever, what good is he? Our run defense suffers every single time. Mad Martin says our run defense was painful to watch at times, and it really was. Like, it feels like you're going to get a tackle on somebody, and then it just never comes. Drives me nuts. Mad Martin was happy with some of the adjustments by KOC. What was he responding with there? He said, absolutely. I was saying, call me negative, but I think we're all ready for the upcoming bye week. And he says, absolutely, yeah. Yep. Terrible play, basically. It's been ugly. Dave Hickey out of Iowa says, let's hope they do better in London. Let's hope the play calling and execution by the coaches is better. Yep. And thankfully it was a little bit. Dave continuing says, it seems like every punt or kickoff there is a penalty on the Vikings. That said, it should be impossible for a return for a touchdown. Yep. What were we talking about? Retire. Probably about. Yep. I was saying wow, just wow. Dave Hickey says he needs to retire. That's too many concussions, at least for his health. Why doesn't he wear one of those Guardian helmets? Yeah, they brought him back too soon. Also, yep. And I do believe that was Brian Kelly, right? So conversation when they were talking about him. I was saying wow, just wow. It's how the game was just falling apart. What did I just press here? This is, of course, X or Twitter at Purple Mafia Show, just in case I'm jumping around. Dave Hickey says we have to drive here 7 minutes. Eventually, that drive did come. Thankfully, the big play and all that, the big play and big plays came on the offensive side, not defensive. Mad Martin says, whew, another win in London, 5-0 and 3-2 into the bye. Time to get healthy. That's for doggone sure, isn't it? I was saying that was beyond belief. They survived, barely. Yep, he was saying how the run defense is painful to watch at times. Yep, replying to that conversation there when I was calling Cashman worthless. Mad Martin says, well, my record in London remains undefeated, as does the Vikings. To be honest, I was quite surprised how well the O-line held up considering who was playing on it. Yeah. And towards the end, and yes, they did have to do somewhat of a decent job for that drive to even happen, particularly late in the first half and at the end of the game. Anyhow, Mad Martin says, and towards the end, it really did feel as though the season was on the line. Kind of did, didn't it? But at 3-2 going into bye week, it gives them the opportunity to get starters back against the Eagles, who after tonight certainly look beatable as do Baltimore. Yep. But ultimately, this season is finding out what McCarthy's got. We got that final drive, and I really didn't have much confidence that they could pull it off. I will give Carson his due. Yep, I'm glad to hear that. Yep. Yeah, he was clutch in that final drive, but again, too many penalties and 2 fumbles certainly didn't help. Yeah, the running backs fumbling, each one of the running backs fumbling, and just penalty after penalty. That's where the offensive line looked so bad at times. Mad Martin continuing saying, and one thing is for certain, Addison needs to grow up. Did he learn nothing from his 3-game suspension? If not, trade him and find somebody that is committed to the cause. Yeah, because apparently he was kind of messing around and all that, not really paying attention. Was he like late, basically? Because he was too busy, whatever, messing around over there. People, he's having too much fun. Yeah, stupid, tacky, very tacky, unprofessional. Jordan Addison, you have a chance to be a star in this league, a legitimate star in this league. Please don't throw it away. And I'm telling you, I am very proud of being being right when I endorsed Jordan Addison as the draft pick for the Minnesota Vikings in the 2023 draft because of what he has become. Please, Jordan, keep it that way. Please, please, Jordan. Please, please, Jordan. Looks like Dave Hickey wraps things up with the last two here. Dave, again, out of Iowa, says, whew, we got some key defensive stops and got the ball back. A touchdown on the final drive to take the lead with a couple seconds left. Priceless. It's nice to see that coaches are going to move up tempo than usual. They are still picking up a lot of penalties, though. They sure are. Yeah, they sure are picking up a lot of penalties. It was ugly. Very ugly. And that was kind of hurting Buffalo in this game as well. Oh, that's right. Stefan Diggs is playing against his former club, isn't he? Huh. I didn't even, it was just like, bloop, of course, yeah, because it's been two former clubs now. Obviously the Vikings and the Houston Texans as well along the way. After the Vikings first, Buffalo second, Texans third, and now the New England Patriots, and a very improved New England Patriots team. They look like they're going to be something. They do, especially if Drake May continues to pan out. It looks like he just might, too. And he's got a nice veteran receiver there in New England to help things in Stefan Diggs. As crazy as he is. But I think that's about it. My lord. I do believe so. Instagram also at Purple Mafia Show. YouTube. Check out the YouTube. Please give that a follow or subscribe, whatever. Of course, it's free. When I say subscribe, that is not a paid thing on YouTube. You're just subscribing to the channel where you can follow it regularly, comment on there, share it with your friends. Please do. I love doing those quick YouTube videos. Want to grow that channel. It's very new. At Purple Mafia Show. Very easy to find, just like this show on Twitter and Instagram and Threads. It's all at Purple Mafia Show, at Purple Mafia Show, at Purple Mafia Show. So easy stuff to find. Very easy. Please look it up. Please follow all those things, but especially the YouTube. And of course, thank you so much for listening to this podcast. It means the world to me. Please give a 5-star rating if you could on the on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any other app that allows you to do so. Also, crush that like button and subscribe button on YouTube if you could. TikTok as well as Purple Mafia Show. Even TikTok. Yes, I created a TikTok for Purple Mafia Show where I could put the videos there. Again, apologize if there was music in the background. That's really annoying. That was not my intention, so I gotta keep track of what's going on there. I might have pushed a wrong button somewhere and put music on it, which I was not planning on doing. With that said, thank you so much for listening. God bless you, and we'll talk to you in 2 weeks. No show next week. Get some rest, get healthy, and let's beat the Philadelphia Eagles somehow, some way.